Hi and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, we're flying through the episodes and we've already had a couple of years worth of effort to get to this point, with the major highlights being a massive excavation on a sloping plot containing big tree stumps, making a cock-up of digging the trenches, making an even bigger cock-up of filling them with concrete, building the levels up and laying a slab, and then 18 months of stonework, including the epic episode 19 where I built the arch. So I'm pleased to say we've finished the stonework, and in the last episode we made a start on the oak frame. So this is as far as I got yesterday, Saturday, so I finished those two end pieces off, the new one being to the left. I'm just going to measure up really accurately where I'm going to do these mortices. God, I just don't know any words. It took me 6 months to remember the word purlin. Mortise. I'm going to measure the mortise that the tenon will go into. Nailed it. So I'm not massively trying to cut corners in the next section, but I am trying to do my mortises with regular tools, and you can see a tutorial here, and there's loads of them using things like drill bits and routers. So that is what you're going to see me do in a second, and I went into this fully expecting that I'd be able to cut lovely deep mortises like these. Right, when I was first routing, I was using this router bit, and I bought these two, which are going to give me a bit more depth. I'm going to start with this one here, and I need to take it to a depth of 79mm. Not making a good noise. Yeah, I think a better idea is going to be take the bulk of it out and go around and route it afterwards. God, it's bloody freezing today. Bloody hell. Right, this is concerning. That's basically burning its way through the edge, which is not good. Well, do you know what? The router actually did better, but I'm not sure that really helps. That fits. Yes, it does. Right. I'm not getting a good vibe there at all. Shit. Actually, I think they do. Okay. That wasn't too bad. 600. So there you go. So I've gouged out a load of holes. I'm going to try and route the edge and see if I can have a go at the bottom. Oh God. So I know this looks like an absolute dog's dinner, fine, but I could have finished this off, and I will finish this one off, but everything is struggling. The Forstner bits can't cut in the oak, the router bits are making a right meal of it, so I will finish this one off, but the problem is it has been difficult, uncomfortable, it's messy, it's taken ages. So I'm just pausing now because I know this is not the answer. I'm starting to think about a chain mortiser, but that's problematic, mainly because of the cost. I think I'm going to go and do a bit of research and call it a day. Not very satisfying, but I've been here before. Just got to work out how we're going to do it. So the good bit is I've basically got my first tenon dug. As you can see though, not exactly even at the bottom, and I achieved it using one of these. But it was seriously hard work and it just isn't really sustainable. I then trimmed it off, by the way, with a mixture of chisel and a router and an extension. And this ended up with that. Right? So not ideal. I then worked on some different drill bits and I used a big auger bit, like a big corkscrew, and realised that it just couldn't do it at all. It was just driving straight in. So I tried a narrower auger bit, and here it is. Oh dear, it's stuck in the bloody wood. I can't get it out. I'm going to give it a go in a second with a wrench. I think what I need to do is I need to use this type here. So basically what happens is these will grind out. But the thing about this type here, which is more like a sort of corkscrew, is it pulls straight in. It just goes in too deep too quick and you can't pull the oak out. So hopefully these won't. Now I've already tried it to some success and I'll come on to that in a bit. They need a bit of adapting. I've then got some different types of router bits and a router extension, which I'm going to try, various pieces. So hopefully we'll get a result out of that today. Right, I'm not in a good mood. This has not been successful. I've tried routers, drill bits, those things, and I've got one mortise there. I think I called it a tenon earlier on. I've got an absolute car crash here. I mean, don't worry, I'll go over that. I just don't think I can do this with conventional tools. It's so difficult to drill down into this stuff, and whichever bit I use goes red hot and blunt within about 1 minute of using it, if that. So I think I'm about to become the proud owner of a chain mortiser, which is really what I wanted to avoid. But you know what, though, it's going to cost some money. I've already pissed away about 200 quid, well maybe not 200, at least 100 quid on bits and extension bits and all sorts of stuff trying to do it, and it just has not worked. Oh well. Now, what is this? Right, no, I'm not going on holiday. This is an exciting development. Let's open it up. This is a chain mortiser, and this is the tool I need. Basically, if this can't cut in the oak, I'm in big trouble, because this is the proper tool for the job, and there's no further upgrade from this other than bringing in a professional. Easy. Thinking, is it wide enough for the bloody thing? But it is. So I'll bring it down and get it a bit more in shot. Ah, right. So that clamps it in place. Good. And that moves it left and right. Even better. But anyway, then we can plunge it. How do we plunge it? Look. Yeah. Okay. So that's locked in place. I'm a bit confused about what that does. So that's probably to make it spin. That's a little safety to go down. That's now the blade hitting the thing. Oh, by the way, I remembered there is a way. Ah, yeah. So you can go like that as well. That's what this thing is, right? So that's nothing to do with the power. Is there a safety button? Oh yeah, found it. Come on. Like a knife through butter. Oh god, that's the one. That's the tool. Now I've not measured this out, so I don't really want to go much further with it. Next thing I need to work out is how I limit the plunge depth. That's great. Okay, let's try that. Well, I'll tell you what else is a nice sound. Blomfontein. I think that's how you pronounce it. So big shout out to Rob. And as I said, if you could get the Springboks to stop beating Scotland at rugby, I'd appreciate it. Although that said, half of them played for us anyway. Sawdust. Now, I don't know if you can see it, I'll show you afterwards. There's a little bit of rasp in here, and I saw a tutorial where somebody showed how to chisel that bit out first to stop that happening, which I'll do. Actually, this edge here won't be seen because we've got a cross brace going to be coming in flush in there, so that's all right. Right, we're not looking at this one, just to be clear. It's this one here. Hope you can get enough light in that. So we've got a bevel at the bottom, but I mean, my God, how easy was that? And you can see actually I've just created a small little bit of overlap there. See that little slither where I've gone a bit too far? So I'm going to cut the rest of this out now. Just move it along. Now, as I mentioned, this bit here has been biting and the chain's coming up and it's pulling it. What you need to do is you actually need to chisel down the edge. Just make a small cut and that will stop that happening. Does. I think it shifts it forward one cut. Oh, you beauty. Does it? So that to the right is the one we did before. Look at this. Oh, it's a work of art, isn't it? Now remember, this is a first attempt. Really, I probably should have gone a bit more carefully than I did, but anyway. You can see here, I've dug in a little bit deep there. Don't worry, I'll just chisel that off, that's no problem. Now, the end of the blade, as you might imagine, because it's like a chainsaw, a chain mortiser, so it's circular at the end. So obviously what you get is these kind of bevelly troughs. Now I can probably just chisel that out. I'm thinking it might just be time efficient to just go over these ones. So rather than doing 1, 2, 3, 4 plunges, do another 3. The only problem with that is that you've got to sort of like turn the wheel and move the mortiser. You know, this is not like a router where you can just slide around. Each plunge you've got it fixed in place. That could be time consuming. I'll have a look at that. Let's just go around the other side. So I didn't quite get the depth right. At the very bottom, can see I'm just short of 80 mil. I wanted the actual depth to be 80, whereas at these top parts, probably at about 66. So actually, using this little nut here, a bit in silhouette, I just need to go a bit lower. So I probably need to make sure that these troughs are probably a little lower than I want. And then I can, as I say, I can then cut these peaks out. But oh god, it's just so satisfying to use, so easy. If you're cutting mortises, for God's sake, get one of these. So just a quick note on getting one of these. Now, the thing is, these are really expensive. This model is about 1,500 quid. That's a serious amount of money for one bit of kit, and I do need one. To hire it is about 80 or 90 pounds per week. The problem is though, it's quite a specialist tool, so you can't get them everywhere. This is why I lost a bit of time. I'm in the northwest of England. I couldn't find any local suppliers. However, I'm going to do a proper shout out for these guys. Now, don't confuse this with HSS. It's like a local hire shop. There's a chain of them. It's nothing to do with that. This is Hire Services Southern, and they're down in Surrey, so basically the other end of the country for me. But what they do is, basically, they'll just ship it out for you, like so. And it turns up in one of these. They've got a returns label, so that when I'm done, I just basically send it straight back to them. So there you go. So big shout out, really nice guys as well. Graham helped me out, and I spoke to Chris. At a glance, quite good. Got a cunning plan. Okay, so there's the first one I roughly cut. And here's this one. Now, remember at first, I went down too low and I decided I just don't want to go that deep. I'm nervous. I mean, it's probably not true. Again, how am I supposed to find out? Or I'm not a structural engineer. I'm nervous that by going too deep, although it will give me a really strong tenon, it's just going to cut too deep into the oak. Is it weakening it? I mean, again, you know, these are not insignificant, you know, sort of pieces, but I just feel there's too much coming out. So I'm just going to play that safe, I think. Right, so this is basically done now, apart from trimming it. Don't know what all this black stuff is. Look at it. I mean, this was under the tarpaulin. Maybe it was like this originally. Doesn't matter. It will be planed off at some point. But look, there you go. There are my 3 mortises. Looks quite good, that. So this is quite a complicated one. What is more complicated is where my finger is that this tenon doesn't carry on along these lines here. So what that means is, as I cut these, I've got to have an awareness of where the tenon is going to go and cut down. So I'm going to do some cuts. I think I've measured this up. Got to be careful because these are really destructive cuts. I mean, I've got a little bit of excess material then if I did go wrong, but this corner here and this corner here needs to come out completely, and then I'll gouge down 35 mil across the rest of it. Right, going a bit old school here. The reason, the electric plane is brilliant, but it can't get in at the edge. I think this will do a better job. Oh, that looks nice. Oh, look at that. That's proper old school. And the blade almost goes up to the edge. Nice. So that's the pivot. Right, there it comes. As I twizzle that, there's a blade. Let's test it. Okay. That's nice. Okay. saying. Severe alert. Quite impressive. I can feel that over a circular saw. It's a new thing in the UK. Look at this government. Yeah, did you? Okay, it's raining quite hard now. Oh God, look at that. Now, no way, I haven't cut this end yet. No, it's not getting all the way in because remember it's beveled. I need to bevel the thing, and I'm not doing that. And I really don't want this to get stuck. You know what? It bloody nearly goes in. It's quite nice. So there you are, not bad at all actually. So I need to just trim that tenon. I'm not sure I'd describe it as like massively flush. There's a bit of movement, but it's not wobbly. Now, by the way, this offset I was talking about, because I miscut it. So here you've got about 25mm, and here you've got 35mm. So that's the extent of the problem. It took a day to do one end. If you add up how many days that's going to be, I've got to get quicker at this. That's the point. Otherwise, oh God, I don't want to think about it. How many pieces there are on the whole thing? Can't be 50. So that means I've got another year of weekend work to go. That's not acceptable. I'm not doing another bloody year on one stage. Right, let's call it a day there because it's raining hard. So there's actually two issues with this, not one. First of all, this is offset a little bit, which I don't want. Now, when I measured the width of this, it was 2.2 centimeters. And in my mind, I was thinking that this lip here was only supposed to cover half of it. So I cut it to 1.1, even though my design said 2.2 centimeters. But that's an error. This actually is supposed to come all the way up to here because the king post that sits in is only 200mm wide. It doesn't overlap here. It's basically going to sit in the hole here but be wider than it. So I've actually got quite a bit of excess on this one, so I'm just going to lock this off and have another go. I'm getting into doing things quickly, so I've now got a template to use. Do you know, the next thing is I'm wondering if I've got the rotation of this thing wrong as well. I think it was supposed to be that way around. I think maybe that was 3 balls ups. Absolute cock up. So this section is actually 200 by 180mm. Okay, so it's supposed to be basically 200mm across and 1800. Do you remember I said I was 2 centimeters out? I was thinking about the width. Well, that's why. Okay, so there we go, that's attempt 2. As you can see, a bit of a gap there, but I've not addressed that yet. I will. So I want to check it goes in. Oh yeah, that is satisfying. The gap in between, come on. Quite right. 21 there, not good. 20 and a half. Well, it's not perfect, and I'll learn to neaten these out, and I can easily retro neaten them, but that's good, really good, sturdy stuff, huge improvement, and I did both of those in
I think I'm going to check the time, but I think it was under 2 hours. So that's great, really making progress now.
Bit of an unintentional rugby theme going on the map today, but big shout out to Dan from Auckland, New Zealand, who says he admires my unshakable optimism. Thanks, Dan. So I'm going to do the king post, and I'm starting at the bottom here, so this tenon here is what I'm trying to do. Now we're working at this end of the wood. Oh, there goes the paper. Because of this cracking here, I'm just going to cut everything off to here. So if you look at it here, this is the bit I got wrong last time. I mixed up what was the sort of the front and the sort of side. So this here is going to be the tenon if you cut through there. So really all I've got to do, if you think about it, is just basically cut this section out here, which shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, this feels like it should be a quick job. Okay, it's good. We did quite a good job of that, lining it up by eye. Always enjoy this. Rivita, anyone? It's just slightly twisted round, that's all. I don't think that's really got anything to do with the wood though. Just that I've got a bit of give in there. Do you know what? I think I'm going to set it on its end. That'll be quite exciting. It's a bit of me thinking this is a stupid thing to do, but I'm going to do it. Twist this round. Yeah. So there is a bit of a problem. Okay, so we do definitely have a problem. So when I lifted the whole thing up, as you can see, the thing is cracked. There is a sort of stress fracture there. So that bit in the middle there is sort of just not strong enough, basically. Similarly, if you can see that just at the end there, the same. Now, is that a problem? Don't think so. Okay. Looks a bit like a massive weed logo. Well, it's becoming a bit of a tradition that I end every episode saying, I can't believe I haven't managed to finish this thing. Well, I can't believe I haven't finished this thing, but it is turning into an absolute whopper. I would have thought one episode would have covered making it and getting it up on the wall. But anyway, it's looking like 3 because as of the 16th of July, when I'm recording these words, I have nearly finished it. And I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get it up in position. As always, I must say a huge thank you for all the likes, for all the subscriptions, and also the really helpful and constructive comments. I always try and reply and I do appreciate them. Thanks for watching. See you next time.